Good evening to everyone here, and thank you for attending for the launch of this report. And it is a comprehensive report. It's covering all the articles of the UNCRPD and indicating a level of progress, if any, in relation to each of the articles across government departments. And as you can see, there's good progress in some, there's limited in others, none at all in some, and then really worryingly there's actually regression in a couple of areas, and that needs to be addressed. So while we welcome progress in this committee, we want to acknowledge ongoing good work where it's happening. We just need to point out that there's an awful lot of more work needed across all departments. So as a committee, we have met people from many different backgrounds and organisations, and I want to thank them for the input into the committee, because without the witnesses coming in here and sharing their living experience with us, we wouldn't be able to produce reports like this. We've also met representatives of different government departments, including ministers at times, and we've always tried to stress the importance of ensuring that their department is inclusive and that they're disability-proof all of their policies and strategies, and ensure the information is accessible in whatever format is available, and that there's an ongoing initiative to create awareness of disability and to create awareness of the barriers in society, and so that they can actually be addressed to make life better for everybody, for every one of our citizens. So we're constantly calling for the need to strengthen legislation and to review and update our laws so that they are consistent with the UNCRPD. I also want to reiterate the call, which is a committee call on a regular basis, to ratify the optional protocol of the UNCRPD, and that's something that should be done immediately. And I don't believe that there really are legitimate reasons why it hasn't been done to boot so far. I suppose there's a common thread across all our recommendations, and that is that there should be engagement with DPOs. That's really, really important. Disabled people need to be involved in development of policies and strategies from the outset, and not just coming in midway or near the end of a procedure. As you will see in the book there on page 8, there's a list of the articles and then how they've been rated in relation to progress. And I suppose in some, like, it's to welcome, maybe, for example, there's good progress in relation to women with disabilities. And I mean, for example, the National Gender Equality Plans, policies and laws are fully inclusive of women and girls with disabilities. But I suppose one of our recommendations would be that, any work going forward in this area needs to be intersectional, and, we need to take into account women with disabilities, but also women from different backgrounds, migrants, travellers, ethnic minorities and so on, to make sure it's inclusive. So we welcome the progress, but still more work to be done. There's limited progress in relation to a number of areas. One of those is children with disabilities. And again, we are aware of maybe the lack of support available still from our CDNTs within our communities. Some are operating better than others, but most of them, or if not all of them, are understaffed. And it's an issue that needs to be addressed. And I know there are plans in place by the department to address some of the issues, but a lot of those will not address the immediate issues, and we need to see something done to address the children that need support right now, or otherwise we are creating a level of dependence into the future. We could also say the same around children who are waiting for orthopaedic surgeries, and that are waiting now longer since the suspension of a surgeon, and that whole issue needs to be addressed as quickly as possible. And there are children in pain every day because they're waiting on orthopaedic surgeries. They are waiting years more than they should be waiting. There are children with their lives restricted. I was talking to a parent of a little 2-year-old today who's supposed to start preschool in September, but because she hasn't had her operation, that's going to be impacted. So, it's impacting all of the time, and it's creating a level of dependency, and we can't do that. We have to address the need that's there now. There's no progress, say, for example, in the relation to the situations of risk and humanitarian emergencies, and unfortunately we're seeing a lot of these now. There are ongoing wars all of the time, but I suppose it came closer to home with the Ukraine, and in that war we saw how disabled people were left behind again, because there's no clear strategy for dealing with people with disabilities in a war situation. And in Gaza, I mean, we see people being disabled absolutely every day. There's children having limbs removed, and it's without anaesthetic. It's horrific what is happening there, and the world watches on while we see people killed, but we also see people disabled on a mass scale. And it's, again, we have lots of conventions, we have lots of laws around wars and you know, what the different aggressors are supposed to adhere to. It's not happening, and we need to be bringing pressure on those. I suppose just one then just to deal with, which is concerning and which is regressive, is that living independently and being included in the community. Like, this is so unfortunate, because so much of the UNCRPD is around the right to live independently and putting the supports in place to ensure that happens. We still see a large number of people in congregated settings with no clear plan to move them out into the community. We still see young people under 65s going into nursing homes because there's nowhere else for them to go. People with acquired injuries. In many cases, or with illness. So we need to see a more coherent plan to provide accessible housing in our community, fully integrated into our community. We need to see a statutory right to a personal assistance service. We need to see accessible transport, accessible, all the living supports so that people can access work, they can access education in their community. And all of that has to be packaged together, planned. So we need, for that to happen, proper data, and that's not even available as yet. So, all of these things need to be taken into account. This report is reflecting on them. It's reflecting on them as a result of, as I said, the input from so many of you and so many people who are watching in. And I want to thank you again for your input. I also want to thank the Chair and members of the committee who, we all work very well together, and we are genuinely interested in making progress. And I want to thank Mairead and Brenda and Tracy as well for all their work for putting together this report. Thank you, Chair.